All right, it's that time of the month again that we love, the Open Gate box. All right, let's see what we got inside. Always a lovely box. Let's take this off of here and see what's inside. Oh, look, it says Project 1, blah, blah, blah. Project 2, blah, blah, blah. Threads, notes and updates. You know, they make sure that that is on there. And you can add things and other stuff to your box. So let's see what's in here. All right. Cell phone holder. What? Where does it hook to? I have no idea, but it's a cell phone holder. Ooh, that's kind of be different. Ooh, look at this pretty fat quarter. Look at that. I like that. Always love a flower. All right, we got Orfill thread color number 5010. 5010. It's like a, I don't know, it kind of looks goldy to me, but it's a goldy like brown. Oh, I got 2 threads in there. Interesting. All right, the project looks to be called Landscape. It makes a 29 by 39.5. Ooh, it's a fun panel project, it looks like, of some sort. That ought to be fun. I like those fabrics too. Very, very nice. And then a second thing of Orfill thread 2785. It looks like it's a bluish. It's like a navy blue with like a purple hue to it. I don't know. Both of them look like they will go with this. But I never use the same threads. All right. Let's move this all aside. Look at that. We're going to start with this. And before I do anything, I'm going to go ahead and open it and show you the fabrics. And then I'll tell you from the paper what they are. So the fabrics for this is, oh my goodness, Crow Mazing by Jan Mott for Henry Glass. Yeah, that's what it is. Project 2 is going to have fabric that doesn't even have a name. And the fat quarter was Cottage Flower by Maywood Studio. All right, so there that is. This is Henry Glass. Crow Mazing by Jan Mott. So let me slide that over. It is a cool, I'm going to have it sideways. It's a panel. Very, very interesting. Yeah, I know it's sideways, but there's no way to show you the whole thing. And then, yep, it's even on the selvage. Jan Mott, Henry Glass. So there's that, and then the other fabric is this. Yep, and it all goes together. All right, so I'm going to quickly press all this, and then I'm going to go over the instructions and figure out what's what before I cut it up. All right, getting started. I'm going to start with moving these 2 out of the way. We're going to start with the panel. Since this is not my pattern, I cannot give you the measurements, but I'm going to start cutting it up. So I'm going to find which way it says to do this. So first I'm going to straighten the fabric by putting my selvages together and lining it to where there's no fold or crease. Looks good right there. I'm going to straighten one edge and straighten the other edge. All right, that side's nice and straight. And let's make this side nice and straight. Although I don't even know which side I'm cutting from, but I will figure that out as I go with the pattern. I just want these to be straight edges so I know what I'm working with. All right, edges are straight, fabric is straight. It's telling me now to start by cutting off the top selvage. So I'm going to assume that this is the top. So I'm going to fold it in half this way. line up my 2 straight edges now, just like this. Nice and straight. Everything is nice and straight. I'm going to go ahead and cut off this top section right here. After that is cut, I'm going to turn it around. Oh, my cutting mat is not big enough for this. The cutting mat is not big enough for this. So we're going to figure out where that number is in half and then cut it. So let me figure that out and then make a cut. So I'm going to line up my fold, let's see, until I am at the number I need to be. My 2 edges are straight, folded on the line. Everything looks good. My fold is on the line. Slightly that way. Looks good, looks good. All right, I'm going to make the cut where it says to make it and discard the bottom piece because it is not needed. Now this is exactly the size it's supposed to be. So now I need to make some cuts. So I'm just going to line it up nice and straight as if I had just freshly cut. Everything's looking good. And now I'm going to make the cuts that it says in the pattern. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward that part. All right, these cuts are made. I'm just going to fold them real quickly out of the way so that I can cut the next print, because I definitely don't want to lose these out of order. We're going to move on to this one, the swirl. I'm going to see what it wants me to cut first, and then I will cut. Once all of the pieces are cut out, notice I kind of had to do some of these in half because my cutting mat isn't as big as the piece that I needed to cut. Now it's telling me to sew all these together and make another piece for the sashing. So I'm going to be sewing and then cutting. All these are going to go together, and then this will stay whole and I'll slice it to size. So I'm going to go ahead and sew all these together. You really don't need to see them. I'm just going to sew them end to end like this and put them all together and then cut it to the size it needs to be. Okay, once they're all sewn together, I'm just going to go ahead and press it really nice and flat. Now that it's nice and flat and nice and pressed, I'm going to go ahead and take this one and this one. I'm going to cut the selvage off of that second one and cut both of these to the size they need to be. Okay, all of the parts and pieces are now cut, except for these two because my mat is not that big. So those I will just cut to size when it's time. So I have all these pieces, but first, the next step is to cut off some of these pieces. So what I'm going to do is start with the first piece and then kind of make my way through. So I can't give you those measurements, but I'm going to fast forward a little bit through this. Okay, I already made a boo-boo. This is supposed to be the top, and this is supposed to be the bottom. I'm hoping that what I accidentally cut. Oh yeah, no, that's wrong. Hoi yoi yoi. Either way, I'm just gonna make it with. I have no idea. Yeah, I didn't do that correct at all. That was supposed to come off of there. Well, well, well. I could sew that piece back on and then cut it correctly. Yeah, I could. Okay, yeah, so you have to make sure the orientation is correct on all of this. This is the bottom. These are the top. So since I already messed this up, I'm going to go ahead and redeem myself by sewing on the pieces. I'm going to lose a little bit in my height, but I don't think that's going to matter. Just going to sew them on back where they were and figure it out. So I've already lost a ½ inch off of this. So I'm going to lose a ½ inch off of my whole entire project. All right, I'm going to go ahead and press these and then restart my cuts again. So to make up for it, I'm going to go ahead and take off ½ inch off of all the last of these pieces. I think I'm going to do it from the top part of all of these, so that way everything equals out again. I'm still going to do the same measurements. I'm just losing a ½ inch off of my whole entire project. So I'm literally just going to cut a ½ inch off of all of this. It's still going to match up. See? Nice and equal, but I'm taking it from the top part of every single piece. Just got to remember, this is the top for me. So don't fret if you mess yours up, because you can redeem yourself like I have just done. It's not going to really change much, but the length of this wall hanging, so that's okay by me. And it's going to change the sizes of all those by ½ inch, but that's okay. No big deal. All right, now that I have gone and done that, I'm going to start from this one and move my way that way so that I could restack them all back up. Apparently, I really am ruining this project today. I cut off too much of this top right here. It was only supposed to be a tiny bit off of there. Ay, ay, ay. Today is just not my day to sew, but I have to do it anyway. Just sewed it back on because I got rid of my seam allowance when I cut it. I'm not going to worry about the bottom part. Okay, so I'm going to cut this one. I'm looking at the picture too, and I don't know, maybe it's just written so small for me. I don't know what's my problem today. Mine will just not be like everybody else's. Mine will be funky. All right, there's that. Let's take off whatever this one's supposed to be. So now that I have royally screwed my project up, I'm going to go ahead and start the piecing part that it says. So this, that, this, we're going to line it all up right here in order. And one more right there. There we go. And then I'm going to attach the things it says to attach. All right, here's all the parts and pieces, I presume. I am going to assume that this one will go down here. Okay. Then these, I don't even remember what piece this was. So that's going to go there and there. And then this one will go here and here. And then what else? What else? What else? I'm going to assume this is going to go on the top. right here. And where's the other one? The top way over here. That. And then the next one is assuming the top. Yep. Right here. And this one right here. And then these two here and there. I'm missing something. What am I missing here? That gets 2, that gets 1. That one gets 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 0. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to attach this one onto here and press it. This onto here and press it here. Nothing on that one. And this one, then this one, and that one. And to keep everything in order, I'm going to go ahead now and clip it because, you know, I've already had some mistakes in this project. To keep from having more, we're just going to keep everything clipped together. You know? All right, now for the part that I've been waiting to do, and that's to sew all these on here, like this. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and sew each of these on. Okay, so I don't like the look how this is right here. I know, I don't think it's gonna change much, but I'm gonna go ahead and remove this piece off of here and attach this piece on here, because this is from my scraps. So I'm just literally going to press it, rip it off of here, and then sew this on because it's the same exact size as the piece that I cut off. And I think that will make it look better because right now it kind of looks a little dum-dum. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so that looks better without that piece on there. And everything's still going to be about whatever size. Remember, I'm going to lose a little bit of all of this because of the fact that I kind of royally screwed everything up. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press all this real nicely and then get started on however this goes together. So I have redeemed myself. Okay, so all this matches up like it's supposed to. These are all exactly the same size. These two have seams, but who cares? I don't care. Everything is now the same size. Adding this top piece actually made it better because it would have been a 1/2 inch too short than the rest of them, and I would have had to cut more off of everything. So I'm glad that I added the top piece, which it looks just fine because it tapers either way on that end and this end. So now I'm just going to treat this the rest of the way as it was, except for the fact that I did lose a 1/2 inch in this length. So all of my pieces will be a 1/2 inch too big, but I'm going to put them on at the top and let them hang over a 1/2 inch on the bottom and then trim them all to the same size. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the sashing between all of these strips now. It's going to go in between every single one of these. And then that's it. So let's go to the sewing machine. Okay, so here we are at the machine. I am, like I said, they're 1/2 inch longer than they need to be, but I'm going to just go ahead and run them through just as they are. 1/4 inch seam. I'm not going to stretch, pull, or tug on anything. Just going to let it land the way it lands and run each of these down. And you can see it coming up on here. It's a 1/2 inch bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave that on the machine. I'm going to grab the next one, lining up the top, but the bottom will stick over a 1/4 or a 1/2 inch, and I don't mind that. I can trim that off. So in turn, my project will be 1/2 inch shorter, and it'll have 2 seams that just don't look right. Actually 3 that are in different spots, but that's okay. right, so I'm going to go ahead now and just stack these up to the side. And then I'm going to press them. But before I do, I'm going to add the last strip onto the outer side of the first piece. So I'm trying to keep these in order. I'm just stacking them in order side of me. All right, so this piece, I'm just going to flop it around real quick and add the last and final side on here. And then we're going to press all of these towards the sashing, and then I'll trim off all my excess and then start sewing them together. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and press everything towards the sashing right here on either side of whatever, put them back in order, and then sew the order together. So I've sewn them, the edges, right? I've sewn them on the sashing pieces. So now I'm going to hook this one to that one, that one to that one, that one to that one, leave that last, then hook these two to those two, and then those two to this two to keep from any kind of bowing. So I'm going to go ahead and take it to the machine and sew those. And when I press this, I'm going to press it towards the sashing. So now I'm going to take the next two. I know that this piece is bigger than this piece, but I'm still going to put it on top and sew it through. You can pin them in place and sew them how you'd like. This is just what I like to do. Same exact size, they're landing in the same exact spot. So I'm going to grab the next two, and then I'll have one remainder, which I'll add to this once I press it. So I'm going to take all this, press it towards, I'm going to press everything now towards the sashing real quick and then lay it back down in the order in which I picked it up, because I'm already having problems today, so I definitely want everything back the way I picked it up to sew it. And this one, so I'm going to press those and then attach them together. So now I'm going to hook this one and this one together, but this time I'm going to sew with the smaller piece on top. Just going to line it up, sew it the same way I've been sewing the whole thing. Or not. Okay, back to where I was. Oh, look, it came up short. Don't know why or how, but I'm going to stretch it and make the bottom one suck in. That should work out. Can't tell. So I'm going to press this towards this dark piece, but for now, or towards the sashing, I'm going to attach the last one on here, the smaller piece, to the end. These ones are the exact same size. I don't know what's going on. All right, so I'm going to press towards the sashing of these two pieces and then hook the two together, and then this whole part is done. All right, so now I'm going to put the last two sections together and sew those, lining up the top. I'm going to start it and then line it up and sew it. Matching up my ends. All right, so I'm going to press this now towards the sashing and then we'll add the next steps. All right, now I'm going to take the sashing piece for the top and the sashing piece for the bottom and attach those. I'm going to watch my seams, making sure they stay flat because they like to hit the lip of the machine. It should be the right size. There. All right, and then I'm going to grab the bottom one. Somewhere right here. There it is. This is the one with all the seams in it. I'm just going to make sure all the seams are nicely going one direction, or you could have pressed them open. That's all on you. Should be the right size all the way down. All right, I'm going to go ahead and press it towards the sashing and then we'll add the borders. All right, so now for the side borders. They're the ones I didn't cut the selvage off till now, so they're going to be probably bigger than they need to be, but that's okay because I'll just cut it to size like I usually do. My cutting mat does not have the, ability to cut the specific inches that this needs to be, so I'm just going to go ahead and sew it on like I normally do. And then I just fold it up like this, cutting it to size with a pair of scissors, just like that. And it's just a little bit remaining. Toss that aside. Back stitch, turn the whole thing, add the other side, and then we'll press towards what we just added, the border, and then we will add the top and bottom. To see if they were equal, let's see. Oh, literally almost exactly the same. I mean, that's not even 1/8 of an inch right there. So they were pretty much the exact same. So my quilt's turning the size that it needs to be. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and press these real quick and then add the top and bottom. Last two pieces to sew on. I'm going to watch. Oh, aren't going to matter, so never mind. I don't need, those seams are blocked. Whew! I could feel them flipping right here, but they're not on anything. Because the sashing is right there. And it should be exactly the same size. Yeah, the only thing I lost was a 1/2 inch in the height from all this. Maybe an inch in the height. I'm not 100% sure at the very moment. I think it'd be, yeah, 1/2 inch, something like that. We'll see what the size of the pattern is supposed to be and how big mine actually is. Oh, this is the one that has all the seams, but they look to be going that way, so I should be good. Oh, out of bobbin. Whew. All right, now to press these, and then I'm going to see the difference in size from mine to the pattern. All right, so there it is. Mine, okay, the real one is supposed to be 29 by 39.5. Mine, don't know how this happened, 28.5 by 39.25. So I only lost a 1/4 inch from the length, which is weird because I cut from the length off. So that one makes no sense. Instead, I lost, let's see, a 1/2 inch in this direction. But that just could be because my 1/4 inch seam allowance is different than the one she made her original pattern with. So there mine is. I think it looks awesome. It matched right up. The only difference between hers and mine, let's bring up the picture right here, is see, hers, it goes straight to the top with the piece. Mine has the whatever on the top, which honestly, can you really tell the difference? It looks the same. Also, I think this picture is backwards because my tree line whiteness is on this side with the biggerness. So this is a reverse image. Anyway, so now I just need to quilt it. Okay, project numero dos. Let's make this little cell phone holder in hopes that I don't mess anything up. All right, got my instructions. I got my fabric and the interfacing or iron-on stuff, and then a little hook. So I'm going to follow the instructions as best as possible and make this. I'm going to cut off right here, right here, by, really, right there? It seems kind of small. Okay, that's cut off. Now this needs to be blah, blah, blah size. I can't tell you, but we're going to do it anyway. If you got the box, you have the instructions. We're going to make this. Oh, it is the size it needs to be, so I just need to cut it the size it needs to be. Right here. Just like that. Woohoo! Now I need to press this little piece. We're going to press the sides in to the middle and then press the whole thing in half like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just fold it in half, press the sides to the middle, and then fold it in half so that way it can fit on this. Once this little piece is folded, so again, I folded it in the middle and then pressed the two sides in. Be careful not to burn your fingers. I'm going to go ahead, fold it in half. I'm going to stitch it closed and then stitch on the opposite side. So I'm going to stitch on both sides of this. That's done. It's going to go on this right here. Like that. but I'm going to go ahead and sew right next to this right here. As you can see, I stitched right next to it so it doesn't move around very much in there. So there's that. Now I'm going to, on the wrong side of the fabric, I'm going to fuse this on here somewhere. Let me look. So I'm going to go ahead and fuse it to one end right here. Just like this. I'm going to go ahead and fuse it on there real quick. That is all fused on. Now I'm going to read some more. On this end right here, I'm going to place this in here like this, and I'm going to sew this on here from side to side. There that is. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the next step. So now I'm going to go ahead and fold this up to it. I'm going to sew all the way around, leaving an opening. I have now sewn all the way around the whole entire perimeter, and I left myself an opening. We're going to go ahead now and turn this complete, well, actually, before I do that, I'm going to cut up to the stitching, but not the stitching in all of my corners. All right, so my corners are clipped off up to the stitching, but not the stitching. Now I'm going to turn the whole thing right side out, just like this. I'm going to grab my shank. I'm going to poke it in there, get all these corners pushed all the way out nice and sharp. Just like that. And now I'm going to fold this in 1/4 inch at my opening right here on the bottom. And then I'm going to fold the top part in 1/4 inch, and I'm going to press this all the way around, making sure that this seam is exactly in the center all the way around. So now that I have pressed this, you can see I folded it in and pressed it, as well as that top part. They line right up in the middle. I'm going to go ahead now and top stitch around the whole entire thing. All right, with an 1/8 inch top stitch all the way around. Now I'm going to fold this up to the number it says. I think it's about right here. Just going to measure real quick and see. All right. There. Is that it? Right there. So I'm going to go ahead now and top stitch right here and right here on both these sides. So I'm going to stitch right on that same line that I stitched, and I'm going to back stitch right here because this is an opening and we want to be able to slide the phone in and out. Here's my phone. My phone's kind of big in this case, but let's see. Oh, look, it fits just fine. The hanger holds it. It kind of does fall forward a little bit, but that's okay. When it's hooked against something, it probably will lay flat when it's flat against a surface, like a backpack or something. So there is my phone in a holder. Just like that. That works. All right, on to the quilting. So I have chosen a big piece of fabric that's 19 by 80. I'm going to split it in half. And then what I'm going to do is sew that together, the halves together, and then I should have the length and width of the project at hand. Here's the opposite side. I'm just going to split it in half. So I just cut the fold. And then what I'm going to do is line up the selvage right here, because this whole side was selvage. This was the leftovers from another back. I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to cut this side all the same so that my stitch goes nice on that side. So now I'm going to go ahead and take the two pieces, put one right here, the other one right here, and I'm going to sew them together with a 1/4 inch seam. Once I have sewn it, I'm going to go ahead and press it. I like to press my seams open when I use my long arm. Now my backing fabric is bigger than the quilt top. I am going to add a leader on the top and the bottom, so that way I can get the whole entire thing with some grab, you know. It's plenty the size it needs to be. It just needs a leader and an ender. Now I have my temporary leaders on there. I'm going to go ahead and get a piece of batting that's that size. Here's is because I only had like not even an inch. Now I don't recommend doing this, but I do this because it's my own project and I can. I don't like it when people send me quilts where I have to do this because then it becomes impossible. But I put a leader on there. So now in the direction of which I am sewing, I'm going to line up the edge of my batting and my fabric. Notice I cut my batting pretty much at the edge. I'm going to line that up to the top right there. Since my seam is sticking up, it allows me to have something to butt it up against. I'm going to straighten this out. And now I'm just going to baste along this top part and quilt the whole quilt as I normally do, and then the bottom should land about an inch before the end. So let's go ahead and quilt this. So to quilt it, I'm going to take advantage of the swirls that are in the fabric. And what I'm going to do is swirl in, but I'm going to create a feather drop at the end of it. So I'm going to come around, stop about right here, curve it into a feather drop like that. And then backtrack just a little bit. Do another one. And do another one. The only thing about this design is there is backtracking, or I can turn this into a curve, like a curl into it. But I'm just going to backtrack. So I'm going to make this one go this way. So big swirls, little swirls. I'm just going to swirl it into place. Here's a point where I didn't leave myself an out, but I felt like this section needed to be filled in. So what I'm going to do is just tie it off right here. No big deal. And start again up here. Once I reach the end, I advance the quilt and keep going. when I finish a quilt top that I have to add leaders to, here it is, just in case you were curious, since I'm adding all this extra stuff to the video. I literally just grab it. I stitched such a big stitch, they just come right off. Well, I gotta go from this end because the front end is not. There we go. And now all I need to do is trim the quilt as normal. So I'm going to go ahead and do that while you're right here. I always fold my excess fabric until I get a chance to cut the scraps down. I do this when I do client quilts too, or anything else. I'm also going to trim this side first since the biggest parts are right here. All right, then I cut the other big side off. I'm also lining up the edges. Just like this. Fold this lovely piece up. And then I trim off any remaining. As you can see, I really cut it close, but I did good adding my leaders. I don't like it when people send quilts that I have to do that with, so I like 4 inches all the way around. And I do try to get 3 or 4 inches when I make my own backing fabric, but I only had so much of this to work with, so obviously I made do with what I had. But you can see I ended with about 1 inch. Like I said, I made sure that I did that lining up pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna get this trimmed up and then we're gonna piece the binding together and get that attached. All right, so here it is sideways for now. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna put these binding pieces together and then bind the quilt because I pre-cut these when I was cutting everything out. And don't forget, there's one extra piece that you cut from another fabric that actually goes towards the binding. So I'm gonna go ahead and piece all this together and we'll attach it. So for the binding, we're just going to take these strips. I'm just going to start off by grabbing this one. I'm going to grab this right here. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to go from corner to corner. Just like that. Grab the next end, hook this end to it. Again, I'm going to hang it over so you can see those little dots that are on the fabric. Let's see, where's the camera? Right there. See those little dots? That's part of the selvage. I'm going to cross that on here and cross that on here. Turn it to the side. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab this end and grab that final piece that doesn't have anything off the end. So I'm just going to lay it right there and sew it on. Then this part is quite simple. You literally just chop off your 1/4 inch seam. And there's one seam down. This one only has a couple because there's only a couple pieces. So I'm just going to cut that off, 1/4 inch seam. Cut the selvage off. I always do that because I save my cutoffs. And there's my 1/4 inch seam. And then I throw the rest in the garbage. To make your binding, whatever size that you chose it to be, what we're going to do is I'm going to find the seams real quick. And I'm going to take my iron and press the seams one way or the other. You can press yours open. I always just press to one side. Either way, the seam is just distributed. Wow, I cannot speak today. Across where it needs to be. So it gives a perfect amount. All right, once I have pressed those seams, it really is just about folding. So you just fold the raw edges together and just go all the way down, keeping it folded. I use my fingers as like help. So I just fold and then I grab with my fingers and just slide it on down. And just keep going until the whole entire binding is complete. I've seen some people do it a little bit differently, but this is pretty much the easiest way. And there we have it. Binding is ready to attach. Okay, since this is going to be a wall hanging, since that's what it actually is a wall hanging, I'm going to go ahead and add ribbon. I don't really have very many ribbon choices left, so I'm just going to go with this one because this one matches the cream color that's in here. So I'm going to go ahead and add my ribbon hooks. Some people are curious about this. My ribbon hooks that I put on are to help hang the quilts on dowels so that they lay flat and not have a bump in them from having a sleeve on them. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Never mind the lighting, it's kind of bright on this side, but see, there's hooks on this one that are the ribbon, and it lays nice and flat and hangs down. But this one has a sleeve on it, and I don't know if you can tell, but it's bumping out at the top the way the dowel hangs on the sleeve. So if you were using a thicker not shower curtain, but curtain rod as your dowels, it would stick out even more and it would have a bump at the top from using a sleeve. I don't like that look, so that's what I do for wall hangings like that, and you can always match your ribbon to your project. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I add my ribbon. So let's add some ribbon. I'm going to put it on the back side. So first you realize the direction. This is the top, so I'm going to flip it over and put the top of the quilt in between some lines on my cutting mat. So I'm going to use my cutting mat for this. Okay, and at this moment I have yet to cut my ribbon, but I'm just going to pre-mark where I want my ribbon. I always want it on the inside of 2 inches on both sides, so it's equal on both sides. And then I always count in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is good. So we're going to put it on the inside of 8, and we're going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and put it on the inside of 8. And I'm going to put 4 on this one because it's bigger and it weighs a little bit more. Then I'm going to take, since I marked it now, I'm going to open my ribbon, which somehow, some way, has a piece of tape here. There it is. To take this off of here. Slide this down for a second. I always use 5-inch pieces. So there's 5-inch pieces. So I'm going to use 4 of them. You can use smaller if you want it to sit closer to. Oops, that one hit the ribbon grain. So here's my pieces of ribbon. I'm going to go ahead and scoot this back up, move that out of my way. Reline it back up on the mat so you can see it's relined up. I'm going to take my ribbon and the direction, you can feel it, one side's softer and one side's rougher. I'm going to have the rougher side out because that's the way the ribbon was wound up. And I'm going to put this right there. It's on the inside of that line. I'm going to do the same with this one. I'm going to go on the inside of that line. Okay, now I'm going to put the ribbon on this right here. This is like 1-inch ribbon, pretty much. Almost. It's almost 1 inch. This one's going to go in the center there. I'm going to move it to the center because it's so wide. Right there, just like that. So now I'm going to do is tack stitch each of these right here. And these should be level because I've lined up the edges of all of them and they should stay level. This one kind of got shifted. And what I mean by that is the edges are completely lined up. So each piece is going to be exactly the same size. Oops, why did I put it there? It's not going there. It's going here. Right there. And it shifted again. Why is it shifting on me today? Only because I'm filming a video. All right, there we go. So now I'm going to give it an 1/8 of an inch stitch on every single one of these. They are now sewn on, every single one of them. This one kind of got wonky, but that's okay. It's not a lot wonky. but it's 1/8 of an inch of a stitch. Now all we need to do is attach the binding on, just as we do with any other quilt. Now, lately on small projects, because I can do this, I'm going to find that first seam. I'm going to find it, and I'm going to beyond it of this corner, line all this up. And lately I have been clipping my small projects on here. I always sew to the back, then bring it around to the front. I always do that because I like that look best. All right, so I did my mitered corner. Now I'm going to go ahead and just keep adding clips. Probably best to dump them out. Lining the raw edge up with the raw edge of the quilt. Coming here, doing the corner, so I'm literally coming to the corner, flipping it up as if I had just sewed it, lining up those straight edges right here, folding it over where it's matching at the end, and placing a clip on it. Then I go ahead and place another clip nearby. Now all I need to do is clip down this side. And now my next seam is right there, so that none of my seams are anywhere near corners. I'm going to do this corner now, flip it, clip it, flip it and clip it. Lay it on, put that another clip there. And even with these here, we're going to stitch it like this with them down like that with the hanging hooks. There. Do the corner. Do the corner better. Right now I'm just clipping it into place, but this allows me to sew better, I think, when I do these small projects. Gets the binding done a little quicker. All right, and then I'm going to leave my tails. Actually, I'm going to stop sewing about right there. That way I have a good amount. All right, so I have quite a bit of a tail here. I'm going to go ahead and start stitching at this point right here and go all the way around the whole thing. I am going to move my corners out of the way, but I'll show you that when we go to the machine right now. Let's finish this final step. Although I might need to clean my area a second. Okay, a little bit clean. Hopefully nothing falls off the desk. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and with a 2.5 stitch length, I'm going to stitch all the way around the perimeter of this whole entire binding on here. And it's doing what I knew was going to happen. It's making a mess of everything on my desk. Alright, as I come up to the corner, I literally have made myself a crease so I know where to stop. Right there. Put my crease open like this and lay it back down. Stitch to the next corner. I'm just going to fold this out of the way. I can see where I've made a crease. Stop 1/4 inch from the edge. So I've stopped right there. Now I'm going to fold it this way and sew. You can also sew off the corner if that's the way you do binding, but since I've pre-folded everything, it lands pretty nicely. coming up to my corner. Then fold it back where it goes. Start in from the edge. Now I'm not doing anything with my hanging hooks just yet. Right now I'm just stitching across. Coming up to this next corner, fold that back the opposite direction, come up 1/4 inch from the edge, right there, and I stopped, folding it back the other way. So pre-pinning does help. Also, not losing my thread also helps. Ah, my goodness. Just rethread the darn thing and move on. Come on. Go where I want you, thread. Yeah, that's where I want it. Stay. There we go. Now I'm going to stop at this pin right here. All right. So I've stopped at that pin. I have a nice long tail. I can literally do this from right here. So here's my edge. I'm going to take this, open it up. I'm straightening this side up, see? It's nice and straight. I'm going to open this one up. Lay this edge on that edge like this. Then bring this down, smooth it out right there, fold it at this other edge. So simple. That's the size of my binding. Make that cut nice and straight. That's what's left. Toss it aside. Move that out of the way. And this is the part where everybody gets confused, but we're going to do it in this video. So here it is. Pull it away, open it up. Okay? Then fold the quilt. If you need to put a clip on it, throw a clip on it so that it stays. Now this one is this way. Open it up, slide it to the side on this piece, like that. Let's move some of this out of the way because it's in the way. So again, this one came down this way. I'm literally going to open it up and place it down. Okay? Then I'm going to take this one as it is. I'm going to open it up just like this and place it on top, creating an L. So it's an L shape. Line up this edge and this edge. And so from the one corner to this bottom corner, this is where seam tape comes in handy. And it didn't sew because I came unthreaded again. It doesn't like this thread for sure today. Put that through, pull that through, slide that out of the way, and re-sew where I just didn't sew. You know, of all the things that can happen while filming a video. All right, coming to that corner. I'm going to make sure, release, make sure, oh, look at that. It's not twisted or folded or anything. Okay, so that I'm just going to open this up and cut away my 1/4 inch seam allowance. Just like that. Then I'm just going to finger press it. If you press open, then press it open, but I'm just going to press to one side like I always do. I'm going to line my magnetic seam guide back up. This thing is a lifesaver, for me at least. Put it where it goes, right there, and change my stitch length, and sew. I just sewed that seam together with a 2.0 stitch length. I always piece with a 2.0 stitch length. Now I'm going to stitch to where I started, and about an inch beyond. Look at that, perfect. So now I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm also going to move that out of the way. Flip the whole thing over, and we're going to start right here because I just flipped it. Roll it to the one side. I'm going to top stitch about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of this flap. So when it's pushed and folded in like this, I'm stitching 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. With that same 2.5 stitch length, you can change it to a 3.0 and it would still be nice. So I'm just forcing that under and stitching along the edge. 1/8 of an inch away from it. Very nicely. Staying on that edge. I'm going to come to this corner first. So what I'm going to do is fold this up, just like this. Then I'm going to take that point and match it to the corner right there. Stitch while holding it up to it, right into that corner, out of the corner and back in. So I back stitched and tacked it down in that corner. And you can see I'm stitched right here on that edge. I kind of went off the edge right there, but it's on the binding, so that's okay. It just swerved a tiny bit. Now I'm on the side with the hanging hooks. So I'm going to pull it up and out of the way, but I'm not going to distort anything. Fold that binding over. I just have this up and out of the way, and now I'm going to stitch. Same as normal, right past it. I'm going to find that next one. Stitch right down towards it. There it is, and now it's visible. So again, I'm pulling it out of the way, but I'm not pulling to distort anything. So I'm going to fold this over just the same as usual, except this is out of the way. There's a little thread sticking out right there. So go nice and slow past it. You shouldn't be stitching on your hook at all. So I'm going to stitch this up to the next one. It's out of the way. Just lining this up like regular. This is out of the way, but see how I pulled on it and it yanked it? We want it to stay flat. Right past it. Go along the rest of the way. 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the fold. I'm going to do this corner first. Push it, fold it, meet those two corners up. Right here. Come on. Right there, just like that. And I'm going to hold that with one finger. I'm going to find the tab because I'm holding this. Smooth this out. Stitch right past it and to my corner, and then take one stitch into the corner and one stitch out. One right there. Pivot the whole entire thing, needle down, and then continue on. Now everything else shouldn't have any tabs in the way. The rest of it is just sewing the binding on like regular. You can also put your seam guide back right here so you know you're staying a certain way. They also make a foot for sewing on binding. I don't have that, and I don't feel like using it if I did. I just do this and, keep my needle along the 1/8 of an inch from the edge. It's pretty much lining it up with my foot right here. On this side of the foot, I'm in the center of that foot. That's about my 1/8 of an inch away. Move my fingers, slide things down. I use my fingers to hold as I go. Move my fingers out of the way as I go. Pushing all loose threads into it. It's definitely a finger workout. All right, so I'm going to fold this corner up, making my point, fold it over, line everything up, and stitch all the way up to it, into the corner, and out of the corner. Pivot, fold it, and continue on. You can also blindly stitch from the back side in the ditch. So if you were flipped to the other way, you can actually flip the whole thing, put some binding clips, and then stitch in this ditch all the way around. I don't like to do that because most times I miss something, All right, just a little bit further, and then I'll get that corner situated. Oh, this one has a long thread. All right, so I'm just gonna pick my bottom corner up, place it on top, put that corner into the corner, hold it, stitch, pivot, and continue. I think I'm on side 4. Yep, the original starting side. And then we'll check the whole thing, get rid of basting stitches if they stick out, and be done. I have a long string there, get rid of that. So right here is going to bow if I don't give it a little bit of a tug. So I'm just giving the whole quilt a little bit of a tug, holding this over, slowly stitching it right up to the stitch where I started, back stitch, and then I take about 1.5 inches to 2 inches worth of stitches with back stitches. Pull the thread away, snip, and snip. All right, so now the next step is to get rid of any loose threads, making sure that I caught the binding all the way around and all of that. So let's go check that. There's the finished quilt. We'll take a closer look in a second, and there's the finished phone case. So let's take a closer look. Here is the quilting. You can kind of see. There it is up close. So I just took advantage of the fact that this had swirls in it and just added a little feather bloom at the bottom. All of my corners are nice and crisp. Here's the cell phone case. Literally is hanging on the wall. That goes up, but that's just going to fall. It won't stay up when it's hanging on the wall, but it fits. Sorry for jerking the camera. Unfortunately, I don't know how to not do that. So there it is. Let's see what it looks like hanging up on the hooks. Probably not the perfect spot because it is tall and I got a disaster behind this desk, but that's what it looks like on its hooks. So it hangs flat like that one does. And I think it looks cool. All right, that's it. Thank you for watching. Toodles!